Well, here we are at the home of Betty and Alan Silverstein on the 3rd of January 2014. The purpose of our visit is to record some family archival info for the benefit of the whole family. We're fortunate enough to have our Auntie Betty here in good health and memory to help us on our quest. Present is Avron Brian Cream, Rita and myself, Ronnie Blint, Auntie Betty's son Alan Silverstein. Well, it's hard to know where to start, but let's just chat and see where it takes us.
Yeah. I was born in Glasgow. My parents were Izzy Miller and Annie Betty.
And what suburb were you born in?
I was born in the Gordons.
Your mum, what do you remember of your mum?
My mum was a very nice lady. She was a very, very good cook, a Yiddish cook. She used to make Shabbos, and she used to make gefilte fish. There was plenty of fish shops in Glasgow, and there was Yiddish butchers. It was a very, very Jewish quarter.
Were you all very religious?
Well, more or less we kept, because there was a lot of synagogues in Glasgow, and they were all close to each other.
So did you go to shul every weekend?
Not every weekend. My father did, but not every weekend. We were girls. Girls weren't important as boys.
So did your mother make Pesach every year?
Yes.
And Rosh Hashanah?
Yes.
Grandparents, what about your grandparents?
My grandparents,
Yes.
well, my Bobby Sean,
Your mother's mother?
she lived with us.
Right.
And my father's grandmother stayed with his family.
And what did you call her? What was her?
We called her Bobby.
Okay. And my mum talked about a big Bobby and a little
A
Bobby.
wee Bobby and a big Bobby.
Yeah, well, my big Bobby was my father's mother.
And what
My
was her
little
name?
Bobby was my mother's mother.
Okay.
Yeah,
Little Bobby.
yeah, yes.
Where was her husband? If she lived with you?
No, her husband, they come out from Russia, right? My Bobbies and their children.
Right.
And my father's mother died with pneumonia when he was a young man, left the children. My mother's father get killed. He went into a timber yard and
He
fell.
was
in the
Kalman.
Oh,
He was Kalman
Kalman.
Boonis.
water. Yeah.
And so we got a picture
you
of
have
him.
got a picture of
And
him.
he died when a
yes.
whole lot of timber fell on him.
Yeah.
Ah, that was your mother's grandfather.
Yes.
Your mother's
Your grandfather.
Ah.
Yeah, my grandfather.
And that's when she
He had
came
a
to live
beard.
with you.
Yeah, well, you could have a big photograph of him.
I think we've got.
I think we've got a photograph.
A big beard.
Don't remember
Pointy
the beard.
beard.
Don't remember
Yeah.
the beard. Anyway.
He was from Russia. He wasn't very old.
And do you know where they came from in Russia?
That I don't know.
So Kalmans. So there was the Boonises and there was the Millers, which you said to us were as originally
Meltzer.
Meltzer.
That's right.
So when did the name get changed from Meltzer to Miller?
When he came to Glasgow.
All right. Let's move on a bit to when you were teenagers.
Yeah.
When the sisters, three of you were teenagers, and then Auntie Moira was born.
Yes.
Is that right? So when
Kitty was the oldest.
Yeah,
Frida was the second.
yeah.
And I was the youngest.
And then
And
Auntie
then
Moira.
9 years after you were born.
9 years between
Moira.
me and Moira.
Gee.
Yeah.
So
And do
how
you
old was
remember
that
when
time
Auntie Moira
Moira
was born?
About 12 years.
September
Yeah. And do you remember the time?
1936.
Oh,
What was it?
when Auntie Moira was born.
17th of
No,
September.
1936.
Okay. And do you remember her being born?
Yes.
What was that day like?
We lived in Thistle Street.
Yeah.
We come back from Manchester, and Moira was born. We lived in Thistle Street.
Wait a minute, you were born in Manchester?
No. We lived in Manchester for a year.
Do you know why?
Work.
My Uncle Solly says they had a hairdressing business in Cheaton Hill with a new district. And they said to my parents, come out to Manchester. Why they went out, I'll never know. Because my father was a cabinet maker. They went to and he sold everything up. He went out to Manchester for a whole year, and he had never earned any money. He had nothing. So he went back to Glasgow and got a house in Thistle Street and started again. Thistle Street was the slums of Glasgow.
Wow.
But it was a two-storey, two-bedroom house. But my mother used to make it very nice.
So-
She loved curtains. She loved making. She loved her home.
What was life like then? Was it good, bad, happy?
Well, I wouldn't say we're always sort of happy. Yeah, because you see, Katie was born already, and Frida was born. I was born, and we all come back, and Moira was born, and that was 9 years. We lived in Thistle Street, Glasgow.
So was Moira born in Thistle Street? When
Yes.
you were in Thistle Street?
Yes,
So your mother didn't work when you were children, did she?
never did.
What did she do? Did she just keep house and look after all of
kept
the
house.
children?
She used to love to make strudel. She used to love to cook. We'd love to fish at home. She used to make fish. She made a Shabbos dinner every Friday.
That's a full-time job.
Could she sew?
No, she couldn't sew.
So where did my mum learn to sew?
Well, your mother decided that she wanted. My Uncle Davy, as my father's brother, opened a business, like a tailoring business, ladies and gents clothing. And he says he wanted to come to be an apprentice and learn to sew.
Okay.
And she went to work with my Uncle Davy.
Could you sew? Did you ever want to do that?
I did sew, but I didn't like it very much. Not a machine. I like to sew with my hands. I used to be a passer, and like passing sew button. There used to be buttons and different things to do on costumes. Because costumes and coats were very popular in Glasgow because the weather was cold,
Yeah.
and I used to do that.
So what age did you leave school?
I left at 14.
And what did you do when you left school?
I went to work with my uncle for a little while, and he gave me the sack.
This was Uncle Davy.
Yeah, he had a very bad temper, man.
What did you do to upset him?
I don't know what I did to upset him, to tell you the truth. He just come up and says, you're sacked. But that was good, because he gave me a job soaping coats. You know, like you soap coats and they stick together and it makes them stiff. Anyway, I was glad I got sacked because I went out and got a job in my own thing.
And what did Auntie Kitty do when she left school?
Kitty, she decided to become Uncle Solly and Auntie Sadie. They were doing a hairdressing business. They had a shop.
Yes.
And she went into their shop to work at 14.
So she became a hairdresser.
To become a hairdresser.
Yes. So how old were you when you met Uncle Don?
I was 23.
And where did you meet?
I met Uncle Don at the Mason Deluxe. No, at the Yiddish. First of all, I met him first of all, his sister used to pass our place, Minky, used to pass our place in Grey Street. And we started talking to her.
This was in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She used to pass our place and we come off a train, in St Kilda, and I met her. And she said, I've got a brother that lives in Newport. I said, oh yeah. And she said, I'm from Ireland. Of course, we knew an Irish fella that lived in Glasgow, married a Scottish girl. And we says to her, do you know him? And she says, yes. And she said, I've got a brother that lives in Newport. He works in the engineer, ACC, the State Electric Commission. And he lives in Newport Power Station. And then I met him. I went to a dance in Earl's Court. And one night, our house was full of people, all used to visit our house. And I said, I'm not staying in here. They're all there, And I'll go to the dance alone. So I went to the dance, and who was there but Donnie. And he says to me, we had a few dances, we were talking and stuff and that, and she had got married by then.
Who?
Minky.
Oh, Minky.
She got married in Milan, who was Czechoslovakian non-Jewish.